are some people that we as podcasters interview where it doesn't feel like any type of an interview of any sort. And that is how I feel today about our guest, Renee RaeJae Johnson, who is a divorce recovery consultant and so much more. That title, in my opinion, does not describe nor encompass all of these layers RaeJae is. And she is such a dear person in my life. And I am so honored to have her here on our show. So welcome to the Power Transformation Podcast, RaeJae.
I am so glad to be here. Thank you, Alethea. Look, we've been trying to do this for a minute.
Yes.
And I'm so glad it has finally happened. You remember that day I thought I had a podcast with you and got all dressed up?
I do. Well, it's finally here and I'm excited about it. And also, audience, you all need to know as well that RaeJae herself is a podcaster and she's had so much extensive work in the entertainment/radio industry as well as in higher education. And we'll learn a bit more about that. But first, before we start, I always like to start with some type of lighthearted icebreaker question, RaeJae, so that we can get to know you more as a person in terms of who you are and what makes you excited, what makes you tick, what you like, etc. So here is your question for you, RaeJae. This question is, if you had one day in your life to do absolutely anything that you wanted to do that was not work related or task related, what would you do? What does that ideal day look like for you and why?
Decor shopping and decorating.
Oh, tell us
Decor shopping
more.
and decorating. I have been decorating spaces since I was probably 11. And it was after my dad died. I always liked pretty things. I used to watch my mother upholster furniture. I couldn't understand how she did it, but it always looked so good. And one of the things I watched her create was a wingback chair. And I think I fell in love with wingback chairs once she completed that little project. As a result, I started paying more attention to decor and accents and colors of things and the way things were in juxtaposition to each other. You would think that I probably should have been an interior decorator.
It's never too late.
Well,
Mhm.
but like even just the way things are in relationship to each other, and not just the pretty of it, but the functionality of it and the way that it hugs you and greets you and make you feel like you belong. Anybody that walks into a space, that's how I want them to feel comfortable. Not in that museum feeling where you feel like you got to sit and don't touch anything. But that's the one thing that I would do that would be a perfect day. Going somewhere and shopping, coming back and just putting everything together.
Wow, I like that a lot. And it's so ironic you would mention that interior decorating, design, putting things back together, because that could also be compared to your life and what you've had to do. And we'll get to that. But first, the $1,000,000 question that I must ask you is this: who is Renee RaeJae Johnson?
Renee RaeJae Johnson. The RaeJae was a nickname given to me by one of my higher ed colleagues, Dr. E. Paulette Isaac. And when we met, I was a grad student. And she said, "Hey, Ray." And Ray just came out. And I was wondering, how did that happen? So I looked it up, and back in the 1900s, children, Renee used to mean in the dictionary reborn, rebirth, renew. The nickname was actually Ray. And so I said, so that is me. That is my name. The J came from just the initial of Johnson when I got on the air and was on radio. So what I have discovered is that Renee RaeJae Johnson is multifaceted, multidimensional, very creative. Some would even say eccentric in some ways, very eclectic, but everything fits together. I'm a counselor at heart, a nurturer. And even though my parents was trying to navigate me in the direction of business, I felt the corporate world for me was too sharky. It was just bite, bite, dog, dog, cat, scratch, meow. And that wasn't me. I'm more of the kumbaya. Let's
Mm,
be cooperative. Let's come together and let's figure it out. And there's always something good, even in the midst of trouble, because that's what helps to keep you from being bittered and
mm,
embittered and trying to see the good in everyone. Now, I don't wear rose colored glasses. Don't get me wrong. I can get on the
yeah.
street corner with the best of them. But I just felt that I was put here to make people feel better. And I was put here to make people look better from the inside out. And I think that's
Oh,
why decorating is a space. So if you just consider yourself, your heart, a space that has a lot of different things in it, or totally blank, empty, and you don't know what to do to fill that space, or you don't know what to do to declutter, detox that space, that's where I feel I jump in. And I'm so creative. I always come up with ideas for other people. I can
yeah.
do one thing and my brain will click and I'll say, do this. Why did you do that? And
Yeah.
it just comes naturally. So that's me.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for that layered response, B, because it gives us insights into so many aspects of who you are, including the work that you do now. So, if you could just tell us briefly in 30 seconds or less, what is a divorce recovery consultant? And we'll get more with the nuts and bolts of it, but just a quick 30-second blurb as to what exactly is that?
Well, you know how many women of divorce feel like they've lost their confidence and they lost their purpose. They're not aligned anymore with who they were or what it is that they felt they were here to do. Well, through a structured and supportive community, I want them to feel at home with themselves again, to fall in love with themselves again, so that they can start facing those new life challenges after divorce with a little bit more of clarity and with some purpose, and to find the joy that they used to have in their lives prior to marriage.
Mm, that's an excellent way of putting it. And as we know, the stats of divorce, specifically in the US, I don't know the global stats, but I know here in the US, it's between 52 and 54% last I read, and it's quite high, unfortunately. And nobody goes into marriage saying, "Oh, I can't wait till I break up with them and divorce
Exactly.
them." That's not what happens. And so, with you having this type of role in helping women, it would be safe to assume that you once too were married or are again. But the whole point is that you were at least once married and have experienced this divorce situation. So I want to take a step back and you're nodding yes to
Yes.
acknowledge that. So
Yes.
let's take a couple of steps back here. Talk to us, Ray J, about your earliest um exposures, encounters when it came to either a couple being married or just simply having a healthy, loving relationship. And is that what you always desired for your life as an adult?
My mother and father were married until death did they part.
Wow.
I never did see divorce. I didn't I so when it happened to me and my marriage started to struggle, it's not that there aren't struggles in marriages. Yes, they are. The way my father and mother argued was funny. I got a
Mm.
chance to see it. It was funny. But a
How?
lot of people think that it's always yelling and cursing and
Uh,
throwing things and no. My mom would be upset with my dad about something.
mhm.
And my dad had this mindset of, you right, y'all, I messed up. I did it. Come on now, because I need you to lay in my arms so I can go to sleep because I gotta get up early in the morning.
Oh,
And I can be that no good so and so again tomorrow. But right now, tonight, I need you to kiss me, I love you, and you the best thing that ever happened to me. Come on over here, gal, so I
Oh,
can go sleep. That, and he would laugh, he would make jokes. And not that
uh-huh.
he didn't take what she was saying seriously, he did, because his behavior would change.
Hold
He
on.
would see that thing.
And I bet she walked right on over there to
She
him, did
would exactly. She walked right into, I ain't thinking about you, Nathaniel Ross, and call him his whole name, right? Because he was just Nat or Nate. I ain't thinking about you. And then she hollering, I ain't thinking about you. She's steady walking over there with them shimmering shoulders and just melting right into his arms. And me and my brother would be like you see on TV, the kids peeking around the corner.
Uh-huh. That is
And we were
something.
laughing. So I was in that kind of, I saw that example of marriage. And I saw how it broke my mother to lose my father. My dad ended up dying. He was a veteran of the United States Air Force, as I am as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he was exposed to Agent Orange during the Vietnam War.
Oh,
Now, of course, the government is not going to admit to a lot of stuff. You got to prove that this happened, right? But he ended up with a lot of trauma.
mm-hmm.
He ended up self medicating. And
Mm-hmm.
as a result, a lot of health issues came about because he had nerve damage. He couldn't feel anything in his feet and hands.
Mm.
And he was when he came out of service, he was a window washer in New York. And it gets cold in New York because I'm from New York. And so we were living there. And this is before way, of course, I'm 5 years old. I was born in 64. So, I'm 5 years old and my mom is taking me to the building, the skyscraper that my dad is doing the windows in Manhattan. And he's up on
Mm-hmm.
the 20, 30 something floor. And I just knew that my dad had magical powers because every time we went at a particular time of day, I didn't know, my mother and father had already prearranged for my dad to wave a white flag so that I could see it. And I would look up and my mom would go, see, there's your dad. And he would wave that flag because he's looking at his watch. So he know what time we're there on that corner. And I'm tapping strangers and saying, see my daddy. Hi,
Oh,
daddy. Hi,
they
daddy.
had planned that for you.
They have
Yeah.
planned it for me. So
Wow.
this is the kind of stuff I grew up in. To now be married. My mother was planning my wedding. My dad had
So,
passed when I was 11.
wow, that's what I was just about to ask you. He passed when you
Yeah.
was wow, you weren't even a teenager
I
then.
didn't even get to be a teenager with him. I was 11 years old and he was at the VA hospital in St. Louis. And he passed away and I don't know what exactly happened. But
Mm-hmm.
when he was asked the question, Mr. Ross, what day is it? Because they allowed us, my brother didn't want to go. He was smaller, he was 5. He didn't want to go see his daddy like that. So I went one time and they said, Mr. Ross, your daughter is here. And he put a smile on his face, but he never opened his eyes.
My God.
And so they said, Mr. Ross, do you know what day this is? And he said, yes, it's January 19th, 1964, my daughter's birthday.
My goodness.
But it wasn't. It was
Yeah.
January, but it wasn't my birthday.
75, right?
And it was
1975.
1975.
Yeah. How does that? And we'll get to your mom planning your wedding, but if you can reflect back on it now, because all of this leads even into the work that you do now, how did it affect you not having your father in those formative years, especially knowing how much he loved you?
Well, my mother told me that my father said the sun rose and set on my behind.
Mm,
So I was a mommy's girl and a daddy's girl. And when I knew when he passed that he wasn't going to be there for Sweet 16, he wasn't going to be there for 18, he wasn't going to be there for graduations, he wasn't going to be there when I became 21. And I just got real emotional.
that's okay. Take your time. That's okay. Mhm.
And he wasn't going to be there to walk me down the aisle.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I grew up waiting on. Girls back in the day were taught to have hope checks.
Yeah. Hope chest. Yes. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I started my hope chest when I was a little girl, when you play tea and you do all those things. And I had stuff in my hope chest, the colors I wanted.
Mm.
Um, as I grew older, I had the songs and started cutting pictures and putting them in my hope chest. And I knew he was going to be there.
Yeah.
And he wasn't there. And the worst part, too, is that as my mother was planning my wedding, she passed away.
Whew. Wow.
And she
During the
gave me,
midst of the planning, during the midst of it.
during the
So
midst of the planning, yeah.
so your mom never saw you say I do.
No,
Mhm. Mm.
but she made me make a promise. She did meet the man that I was going to marry. I asked her if I could get married at the foot of her bed because at this point she had stage 4 breast cancer and they predicted that she would live until January of 92.
Mhm.
Well, no, actually it was, yeah, January of 92. And I wanted to get married as soon as I could because I
Yeah.
wanted one parent to witness that for both of them. And my mom said, I don't want to be a burden.
Mm.
So I said, you're not a burden because I was her caregiver and you know about caregiving.
Yes. Yes.
And I said, I just want to get married at the foot of your bed so that you can see this happen for you and for daddy. And she said, no, I
Mm.
want you in a church. That is where your father and I have always planned for you to be married in a church. Promise me that you will get married in a church. And I said, okay, I promise. Because I had a cousin that was a pastor, so he could have come to the house and did everything. But what she did do, excuse me, she said, I'll bless the rings.
Mm.
I'll bless the rings. So we actually went out and got rings that we wanted, put them on, and she had us to put them on as if we were already married. And she held both of our hands and she blessed the rings. And to me, that was her blessing the union. And
Wow.
so I felt I had
What
to.
love. Mm.
Yes, I had to. I had to go through with it. I wanted to, but I really wanted to keep that promise. So we got married February 14th of 1992.
Mm. Wow. How powerful is that
Yeah,
your mother knew that
she
she more
knew.
than likely wouldn't
She
wouldn't
knew. I didn't know, but
wouldn't
she
be.
knew.
Yeah. And you know, I like to be very authentic in my episodes. So if we need to pause really briefly, just so that you can t- take some breaths and wipe your face and whatnot, I'm more than happy to do that. And then we'll
Let's
pick right
let's
back up.
let's do that.
Okay. All right. We'll pick right back up at when you get married. So I'm glad that we were able to take that break. We
Oh,
both got
yes, so
some
needed.
water and
So needed.
breathe. And sometimes that's what has to be done because life is life and it's real. And even if a person has passed away, we still have memories. So let's go now to your wedding. Okay. So your
Mhm.
mom has transitioned. It's your wedding day. And of course, I could talk to you for hours, but due to time, we only have about 20, 25 minutes left. Let's fast forward to your marriage and take us there, Ray J, in terms of what marriage was like for you. Did any children come and what did you enjoy most about being a wife?
Well, it was like one of those little love stories that you see, I don't know, in Lifetime movies or something. I met him at the university, and at first I thought that he was a student because he was using the facilities, and he was at the gym at the
Hmm.
university. Come to find out, he was on his sister's student pass, because you could do that. Family, you could give them your pass and they could come and use the gym. And I'm walking on the track and I meet this guy and I'm with a colleague and I said, that man right over there, that's gonna be my husband.
Wow.
That's I just declared it. Okay. And he was looking at me. I didn't know that. So I decided to go inside the weight room that I passed by as I was walking around the indoor track of the gym and introduce myself, because I'm that kind of person. And so I introduced myself and he started laughing. He introduced himself, and we got to talking briefly at the counter there. And the guy that's sitting there to sign everybody in is sitting there looking at us like, I see something happening here. So long story short, we started talking on the phone. We courted for a while, and we decided after about 6 months that we really, really wanted to be with each other. It just seemed like we were perfect for each other. And as
Wow.
time went on, we got our rings. My mother blessed the rings, and we had our wedding February 14th of 1992.
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. Now, at that time, the radio station that was in our town was doing something. It used to be called Magic 108 FM. And I was listening to the famous Tammy Holland, who has now passed away. Deneen Busby, who is still not in radio, but still in St. Louis, and Tony Scott. We called him Uncle Tony. Now, the
Mhm.
reason why these people mean a lot to me is because I ended up in radio many years later. I had no idea.
Wow.
But they thought at the hotel when we went for our honeymoon that we were the 108 couple, the magic 108 couple, because they were doing marriages on the radio.
Okay.
And so people thought that we were that couple. And I was still in my wedding dress and my veil, and we were at dinner, and it was just a lot of fun. So we had a great time, had a little bit of celebrity status for a minute. And we really, really did love each other. We had our first child, his first child ever, mine too. And we were excited about it. I was kind of missing my parents not being there for the
Yeah.
birth of my son. Um, but my
And
grandmother,
and how long after you got married did you have your first child?
I literally was trying to get pregnant before I got married for this reason, and God did not see that. I thought that if I could prove to my mother I was going to have a child, that she would have something to hold on to keep her alive.
Interesting.
That's my motive was for her. And it didn't happen because I was
Yeah.
under too much stress and it wasn't the right timing. So I ended up getting pregnant, didn't know it. I thought I had the flu
Oh,
months later, and come to find out I was pregnant. So I was further along than I realized. I had no idea that I had actually gotten pregnant. And we had my son, my first son, born in August of 1992.
oh, so you were pregnant when you said I do.
I didn't know though. Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And
yeah.
I've heard stories like that where the women really didn't know that they were expecting.
No,
Wow.
I
Yeah.
had no clue at all. There was nothing going on physically with me to make me know that. So,
So as you're married and you have this first son,
yeah.
tell me about that in your marriage. How did that enhance your marriage? How did it allow you two to learn more about each other?
It enhanced it because there was excitement over the first grandchild. And I was sick as a dog later when I did have. I had
Yeah.
problems delivering, so I had to have a C-section.
Wow.
So I was somewhat bedridden for the first few weeks. My grandmother, my mother's mother, still living, came from Mississippi to help me with
Oh,
the
good.
grandbaby. My husband's mom was very instrumental as a grandparent to help out too with his dad. They were still together. Um, so it was a joyous time. As time got further along and my son started going towards age 2 and 3, I started noticing a shift. I
Hmm.
think the honeymoon phase, as they talk about, ended, although I was still in it. I don't think he was, because responsibilities of now really being that father, that husband, provider was pressure.
Mm.
And I was already in a professional career, had my master's degree, was already a counselor, working with other people's kids at the college level. So I was already in my element when I had my child. So things were playing out the way I thought it should play out for me, not realizing it wasn't playing out the way he had planned. But sometimes hidden agendas are not hidden anymore until they erupt in difficulties in the marriage. And so, not fully knowing what his motive was or thinking that it was the same motive that I had for being married and having a child, I was just ready to raise another human being
Yeah.
and to invoke what I had learned and the good life I had onto someone else and provide for them.
Mm.
Um, just to fast forward to where we got to counseling because it was constant tension. We had my second son 3 years later,
Mm.
and I seem to be this, as I call it, single married parent. I had to do everything.
Mm.
And I remember in the Bible, there's a scripture in there where it talks about it is best for a man to sleep on the rooftop than to live in a home with a woman scorned.
Ooh, wow. Yikes.
Flip that. I felt like it was better for me as the woman to live on the rooftop than to live in the home with the man scorned.
So how
Everything
did that appear and how did that look like in your marriage?
walking on eggshells,
Oh.
not knowing what was going to anger him. And it wasn't a physical fear of him. It wasn't a calling out of my name. It was nothing, never did that.
Mhm.
But the anger and the venom and the sharpness of responses of simple things started to evolve. One
Mhm.
time, just to give a quick example, the boys, it was when my oldest son was sick, and this was before I had my second child. And I went to go, I had a hair appointment. I canceled that appointment 3 times. And I didn't want to lose my hairstylist because I was coming across as not being reliable because,
Mhm.
that's her work.
That's
And if
right.
she's got so many people scheduled for a particular time of day for a particular type of hairstyle, she's counting that money. And I had to cancel 3 times. So I was afraid she wasn't going to take me anymore. And she said, no, you can come, but this is the last time. So if you don't come this time, you're going to have to find yourself another stylist. Duly noted and understood.
Mhm.
Well, my oldest son got sick.
Mm.
My husband was at home. And I said, look, I have given medicine. I've done this. I've done that. He's in his cribs. He's sleeping right now. I'm going on to my hairstyle appointment. This is the last time that I can get it. I've already canceled 3 times because I had no help. He wouldn't step in
Mhm.
so that I could take care of me. So I left. When I came back, he told me I was a terrible mother. How could I leave a sick child? So he was building up. And I'm like, I didn't leave a sick child. I left a child with his father.
Yeah.
So it was stuff like that. And I started noticing the trying to do the mind manipulation and gaslighting. That's what I'm talking about. And
Wow.
eventually I had to tell him, you do know who you're talking to, right? Because now I was working in social services, no longer in a university, but I'm working with young girls that are in relationships with perhaps abusive partners.
Mhm.
And so now I'm learning resources to help them. Come to find out later on, I ended up being my own client.
Wow. And so Ray J, just for clarity with that, as time goes on and it seems that this walking on eggshells isn't getting better and the distance is growing, while you can't speak for him and while we want to make sure this stays focused on you and this isn't bashing him or anything and
No,
you
no,
aren't,
no, no.
but just to be clear in case he listens and of course your sons will, what do you think was even more of that underlying pressure either from you or him that led to the breakdown of the marriage and the consequence of the divorce actually happening? Take us there.
I think there was just a breakdown in communication due to a lack of trust.
Mm.
Because when you get to a point where you don't feel like you can trust someone, you don't talk to them about your innermost thoughts, or you're not going to become vulnerable to that other person. you'll do it outside of that person where you feel like there's no judgment.
Mhm.
Now, why a person thinks that, I don't know. Their perception doesn't necessarily mean that what I said didn't sound judgy. I can't
Mhm.
say that. But I'm a very direct person. I ask a lot of questions. And people sometimes get uncomfortable with others that ask a lot of questions.
They do. Yeah.
And it's not so much to judge, it's more so for your own clarity, for your understanding. But a lot of people don't take it that way. For the most part, they feel like you're passing judgment.
Mhm.
And I'm not someone to judge anyone because I have too many things that you could throw back at me. You know what I'm
Same
saying?
here. Of
Just in my
course.
humanness. So, yeah, I think the breakdown of communication due to a lack of trust
Mm.
and whatever issues he had, because I forgave my ex-husband for the way he treated me, and he abandoned me during my diagnosis of cancer and treatment. He never took me to treatment.
So let's wait a minute now. Let's talk about that because
Yeah,
that's pretty deep.
that's
So
deep.
you're married for a while now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got married. Let's put all of this in context. February 14, 1992 is when you get married. Take us to the year of or the months leading up to the ultimate divorce. Take us there in terms of what was the straw that broke the camel's back and the events, including, unfortunately, RaeJae, as you just mentioned, you had a cancer diagnosis. And if you heard earlier, her mother was also battling breast cancer at the time of her ultimate passing. But take us there to that last year of marriage. And also, by now, how long had you two been married?
About 20 years.
20 years. So your sons now are older. The oldest is an adult and the youngest is a teenager.
Correct.
So take us there, RaeJae, and take us back to the place. Paint a picture for us of what it looked like when the ultimate divorce happened.
So when the ultimate divorce took place, I was the one that chose to get the divorce for this reason. I had been diagnosed with cancer, but prior to finding out what the lump was that I discovered, I was 5 days post-op due to having fibroid tumors, and I had
Ooh,
removal of those tumors.
wow.
His dad was dying, and it was in July. I had just had the surgery in March. His dad was dying and passed away in July. And I said, one crisis at a time.
Hmm.
That's what I told myself. And so I had healed up from the exploratory surgery to remove of the tumors. Um, and I ended up having to have some more surgery. So I had a partial hysterectomy.
Mm.
But that was after his dad died because we wanted to get I wanted to get him through that. He was very close to his family, to his father.
I'm sure.
So his dad passed away. And then after we kind of had a breather, about 24 to 48 hours later, I said, now that we're through that, I have to announce that I found a lump in my breast. I had a nursing background because once upon a time I was going to be a nurse. So I went to school for 2 years and changed my major to psychology. So now,
Mm.
with my nursing know how, I know what this lump is. I know what it is. Very small, but I knew what it was. What I didn't know is that it had spread to my lymph nodes. So by the
Ooh.
time and I had on top of my mammogram, this is 8 months, ladies, outside of my mammogram. So those ladies that are listening, watching, 8 months outside of me having the mammogram. So it is so important to stay on top of your self breast exams
Hmm.
and go to the doctor. The one doctor I had did a ultrasound. We're gonna watch it. I'm like, lady, I'm not a plant. We're gonna not gonna watch me grow. So you're fired. And I told my primary doctor what happened. He sent me to his colleague that was an OB doctor. That OB doctor immediately had me get a biopsy. It came back malignant. I was 48. My mother was 48 when her diagnosis came through.
Oh my goodness. RaeJae, mentally, you
Mm,
had to have been going all over the place, weren't you?
mhm.
Mm.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
It was her left breast. It was my left breast.
Mm.
She didn't tell me until it got too late.
Mm.
I found out right away because the actual tumor was just like 1/8 of a centimeter.
Mm.
However, even though it was tiny, it had spread to my lymph nodes.
Yeah, and that's serious.
And we didn't know that because your lymph nodes are all over your body, everywhere. So I tell him I got the call from the doctor. It's a malignant tumor. I got to start radiation right away. He got upset, not because I was diagnosed with cancer, but because it was ruining his plans to leave me.
Oh.
We had had this conversation. We had gone through da 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 da, and he decided we needed to separate. So he was gonna go get him an apartment. He was gonna leave me and the boys in the house. We could do whatever.
And
That
y'all had counseling prior to
we
all.
had biblical counseling. We had counseling that I let him pick the counselor, and the counselor that he picked happened to be one of my former students at the university.
Mm.
I told him we could pick another counselor. He was comfortable with her because he felt she would be a professional until she questioned and challenged him. And he didn't like that. As long as I was being corrected, it was cool. But when it came time for his correction, he didn't like that. So he stopped going. So now I'm dealing with this other issue. He
Hmm.
never he took me to go and I did the whole, let's do the gene thing and see if it's hereditary. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Hmm.
And I ended up going to treatment by myself.
Mm.
I had to find rides with people to pick me up because I had chemo. You cannot drive when you have
Yep.
chemotherapy.
Hmm.
I had to find people. And where was my car? He had it because he dropped me off at work and I'd go to treatment after work. Then I would miss a few days of work because I'm so sick from chemo. I'm still trying to work, people. I didn't go on disability right away. I didn't go on disability until I became a liability to my employer because I was so weak. I was holding on to the wall, walking down the hallway because I could not stand.
Wow.
They had to make me take leave. And eventually my doctor said, no, you need to stop working. The day I decided that that happened is when I fell over the back of my car trying to leave to go to work. And he was there in the house. Didn't mean anything. Meant
Mm.
nothing. Then I learned that he had increased the life insurance on me.
Mm.
How did I find that out? Well, when you apply for disability,
Hmm.
they want to know through your life insurance, do you have any ability to withdraw any of that money for your living expenses?
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And I needed help to fill that information out. So since I was too weak to go to the office of Social Security, I had a phone call with a case manager that was asking me my questions, and I had to have so much of this paperwork available to give her the information. I gave her my life insurance information. We three-way and called the representative. And no, that's not this kind of policy. This policy is only payable upon death. So they knew I could not withdraw it. And I said, well, how much is it, by the way? Because I didn't know. He set up everything. And she told me how much it was. And it had been doubled since the
Mm.
last time I knew what it was. I'll just say that.
Wow.
So then I felt like I had a number on my back. I felt like, there was a ransom for my life.
Exactly. Yeah. My
Yeah.
gosh.
But
So,
we went through all of this and I went through treatment alone. And the final is when he came in on December the 19th, a month to my birthday, which is in January, and told me, I don't know if you know this or not, but in case you do, or before if you figured it out, I'm seeing someone and I'm openly in a relationship with her and I'm pursuing her openly and I'm
no,
not going to stop.
no
So
way.
I just wanted to let you know that
He said that he's not able to stop.
no, he's not going to stop. He
Oh.
chose not to. And he said, I'm so glad I finally told you that because that's a weight off of my shoulders. And here I was sitting up here talking about you're manipulating the situation. I didn't even know he was talking about that when I was. And I'm sitting in a chair. This is the day I had treatment. And I'm literally rocking back and forth because I'm hurting so bad.
Hmm.
And he's standing in the doorway between our kitchen and living room at the house we had, telling me this
Hmm.
and getting his sigh of relief. So I said to him, so when are we divorcing? I mean, just like that. I mean, at this point, everything's just a matter of fact now. So when are we divorcing? Oh, don't you worry about that right now. You focus on getting your treatments and getting better. And once you get back on your feet, then we'll take care of the divorce.
You
Meanwhile,
serious, RaeJae?
I kid you not. Meanwhile, he's going to get ready to go and be with his mistress and taking the car because I can't drive and it's my car.
Hmm.
So I decided on December the 19th of that year, and I
Less than a week
believe that
before
was
Christmas.
2012,
6 days before Christmas.
that I was going to find a way to divorce. Because I'm not working.
Yeah.
I have no income. I'm not even on disability. I'm applying for it. I have no income. So I filed that January. I went and found through an agency of resources that I had to kind of go back to, because in case people don't know, when you have chemotherapy, sometimes it messes with memory centers
Yeah.
and you can't remember stuff. Even long term, you have to have a trigger. It comes back, but it
Mhm.
takes work. And I found an attorney that was willing to take me pro bono.
Girl, I gotta pause you here. Oh my gosh, RaeJae. I did not know this was gonna be that loaded. It really is. And we really don't have a lot of time left. So I wanna take it from there. That was quite a story. That sounds like something out of a book or a Lifetime movie. And so
Yeah.
so you're divorced and you're reconvening and restarting your life. And oh gosh, I didn't want to rush the end of this, but it won't be as rushed, but we do have a time limit. And so this question is, you literally get the divorce and you are doing your best to reinvent, to rebuild your life because everything that you once knew is over and you must begin again. So now you're a divorce recovery consultant. What are some of the things, or one of the biggest, let's say, what is the biggest adjustment and shift that you had to make as a divorced woman? And how would you advise someone to navigate that same shift that you had to?
Well, I think you have to begin at looking at yourself and
Hmm.
understand what role did you have to play in it, because there's accountability on both sides. Accountability does not work in one way. And you, so that you don't repeat those same mistakes again, that you learn from them and use them as stepping stones into your new life chapters. Um, and the first thing I had to do was understand exactly what went on and play those scenes over again and evaluate where was where was my responsibility in it. Not blame,
Yeah.
responsibility, because everybody that reacts or acts upon something comes from your past, whether you know it or not. So you have to kind of get through that in order to detoxify your mind and your heart and your spirit. I stayed in my Bible. I was literally in the book of Job
Mm.
because I felt like that. And I asked my pastor, I said, why do I feel like I'm Job, Etta? Put the Etta on there. And he started laughing and he said, well, let me just say this. You do know what happened at the end of the book of Job, right? So I had the promises of coming out of this fire.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think because I felt like I was a married single parent already doing everything, it was just the adjustment of not having that other partner to do certain other things. You know, Natalie Cole said it best in her song, I'm Catching Hell. You know, it's not the big things, it was a real small thing, like taking out the trash, cleaning, maybe a little
Mhm.
bit, paying the bills. That
Wow.
those things that you don't really think about, that's when you start to miss that. And you
Mm.
learn and you build up a resource of support. I had neighbors supporting me because I build a family outside of my nuclear family. And I think
Yeah.
everybody needs to build something of support outside of the nucleus of your family. People that are going to be there for you and not just there with you. Because I've had people with me that are gone now. Once the drama ended, so did the friendship. But I have
Mm,
a very tiny, small group of people that are still with me. And
yeah.
I maintain those relationships. Don't isolate yourself from people. Take a reprieve, breathe a little bit, find out who you really are now as
Mm,
this newer person that's not attached to me. I love being married. I
yeah.
love knowing that I was with one person and one person was with me, and I felt that I had support and he had support. I used to throw it around, honey, like a badge of honor. I don't have to do this. I got a husband. That's how I went. That's how I was, that was my thing, But then I didn't have that. And I started making, for those of you that are not, Christian bound, I'm sorry, I am. I love the Lord. I made him, the big
Mm.
HIM, my priority.
And you don't have to apologize. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I
true.
stopped putting the other people as a priority and making God an option, and I made him a priority, and other people became the option.
So, what led you to make this a priority and saying, I want to help people through this as a divorce recovery consultant? Because, of course, that didn't necessarily happen overnight. So, how
Right.
did you decide that this is where you were called and purposed and meant to be for this
I felt
chapter of
that
your
I
life?
could not be the only person in the world going through this. I didn't understand being married for decades and then getting a divorce. I
Mm,
saw this playing out for us to grow old together and die. I did not see that I was going to be this divorced person. I didn't come from divorce. Nobody in my family had divorce, even down to my grandmother and my great grandmother. My great grandmother's husband died. You see where I'm coming from? So I don't know that. I don't know that part.
mm,
When people get married, they were married. That was it. And so I knew that there had to be other women that had that same aspiration and dream. They got married to stay married. They didn't get married like, okay, when I had my first husband, and then by the time I get this age, I'm gonna get my second husband.
yeah.
No, that's not where we were coming from. So I felt that I couldn't be alone in this, and I didn't have the help and support that I eventually built. So I thought that maybe I need to help women learn how to be this kind of person that can be strong enough, that can be self-directed, self-motivated, and not pitied, not self-pitied, so that
Yeah.
they could continue, not just for them, but if they had children. They want their children to be able to be good in this divorce too, because it didn't just affect me and him. It affected our kids. I had to give my son therapy
Mm.
because they didn't get that. What are you talking about? What do you mean? They've known us all their lives as mom and dad together. So I just felt that it was something that was needed. And I wanted to be there for other women because I didn't
Mm.
necessarily have anyone there for me.
And the way that you talk about your sons is how it affected them too. Although your sons were a bit older, I know sometimes people think divorce affects small children, but I'll put it like this. My mom's parents divorced when she was a little girl. She had to have been 2 or 3. And for her now being over 70, she said to this day she feels the effects of not having a father. Now, your son's father has been in their life, but my whole point is for a person like my mother to be in their 70s and to still feel that loss of a dad she lost when she was practically a toddler speaks volumes. And so the
Yeah.
way that this divorce affected you, your sons at the time, um, being men wanting to seek their own wives out in the future, I can only imagine what they were experiencing because, as we said from the beginning, no one goes into divorce, no, into marriage expecting to divorce.
Mhm.
So, how was that relationship with your sons even cultivated even more during that time?
It was difficult because
Mhm.
my oldest son was away in college, so he stayed away. He said, "Why come home? I don't have a home to come to." That's
Oh, that's
how
heartbreaking.
that's how it affected him. My youngest son, who at the time was 17, my oldest was 21, my youngest was 17, a senior in high school. And he said to his dad, I don't remember anything being in the Bible about it being okay to have a wife and a girlfriend.
Mm.
So that's how he talked to his dad. He felt like he had to become my father. He was trying to take care of me,
Your youngest
my
son.
youngest son, because he
Interesting.
was there through the whole thing. And with me being ill, he felt like he had to take care of me and become
That's
the
right.
man in my life.
I forgot that quick second that you're still going through your breast cancer journey.
Yeah, I was going through
Oh,
that through the divorce. Yes.
wow.
And we
And
were
that can
homeless.
add
We
more
were homeless.
stress.
We became homeless because the husband then was, hoarding the money to start his new life with his woman. So he wasn't paying the house note.
Mm,
So the house was going to go into foreclosure. And one of my church members stepped in right away, who was a realtor, put it on a short sale, and God blessed me with the sale of the house so
my
that I
God.
could find some place for me and my son to live.
Jesus,
I had a
RaeJae.
friend in radio that took me and my son in so we would not be, and this was December, icy cold.
Yeah. And you didn't have a lot of family
No,
like that. Yeah. You
no.
didn't have a lot of relatives like that.
And I want to be, because people can have relatives and the relatives don't necessarily jump to the
Right.
aid. They sometimes go with the person that you marry.
You are correct. You are correct about that. Yeah. Wow. Wow. We are coming to a close here,
Mhm.
RaeJae, but girl, I can have a part 2 and 3 with this one because this has been absolutely quite powerful. But when you are talking about the people that you coach, who is your ideal client? And how can someone connect with you if they want to learn more about the work that you do?
My ideal client is a woman, any woman, because even though I'm in my 60s now and been
You
divorced,
look great.
thank you,
Mm,
and been divorced for about 14 years now, I don't care how old you are. It's a death of a marriage.
mm,
And just like I went through the grieving process, recalling the death of my dad and my mom, that wound never does feel like it's an old wound that's healed
mm,
up. It never does. So when marriage ends, it's a death. It's like a grieving. So if you resonated with me in that emotional experience that I had here today with you,
mhm,
just reframe that to divorce. That's the same gut wrenching kind of pain that you go through. And nobody should have to go through that alone. So I have a little form that I created called Reset with RaeJae. And it's a form that anyone can fill out that feel like they need to connect and talk with me. And I can meet with you complimentarily for 30 minutes and we can have that conversation. I also have something that I created called Dream for a Change.
mhm.
And it's an acronym that I created in the word dream.
Wow.
So I can also leave that for your viewers and
Yeah.
the listeners so that they can have that too. Because I created that when I was going through my self reflection and evaluation so that I could come out refined through the fire.
Mm. Now, I know that you talk about it being a loss and grief, but with all these years later, practically 14 years later since your divorce, and while you're not married again, you have found love again and all of that thing. But do the effects of divorce, and that this may sound like a dumb question, but it's not because I
Mm.
want you to elaborate, but have the effects of divorce lingered with you? Not where you stay stuck, but all these years later, are you still experiencing the aftermath of it?
I am, and especially around the holidays, you know, um, family gatherings. I'm a very family oriented person. And
Yeah.
it's one thing for another family to take you in and you celebrate with them, but there still is nothing like your own bloodline when
Mhm.
you are family oriented and not having those family outings together, family gatherings together, and you see them happening, perhaps with your ex-spouse, that they're
Mm.
having all of the family, everything, and you don't get that.
Is
Um,
he married again?
he married his mistress,
Oh, wow.
and
What
they've been married for double-digit years at this point.
my goodness.
So pretty much he married her the same year we divorced,
Yeah. Mm.
just months later.
Have you two come to you and your ex-husband, has
Mm.
he ever apologized? Have you come to an
He did.
understanding?
He
Okay.
literally apologized the day that we were signing our final divorce papers.
Really?
We had a conversation. I had I guess you could call her like a godmother type person in my life. And I was so sick I could not drive to the courthouse to sign the final papers. So she told me, ask him to come pick you up. He can either say yes or no. And God will take care of you the rest of the way.
Mm.
Did. I asked him. He said, yeah, I'll pick you up, but I'll have to meet you halfway because I don't want you in the car and she smells your fragrance and know that you adjusted the seat. Yeah. I said, then you can drive my car because my car was your car. So he picked me up and I asked him, do you think we did everything that we could do within our power to resolve this issue? And he looked at me with tears streaming down his face and said, no. I could have been a
Mm.
better husband. I could have been a better father. He said, but now I'm obligated.
Yeah.
And it's not even really about the feelings. I'll say that. It's more about I'm obligated. I feel like I have to go through with this. I said, you're obligated to your family. You're not obligated to extra. But he felt he was. He
Mm.
stated the reason. I won't for privacy purposes.
Of course. Yeah, don't. Mm-mm.
And we went on ahead and we signed the divorce papers. And one thing they asked me, do you want to go back to your maiden name, Ross? And I looked at him and he said, you can't go back to your maiden name, Ross, because you're RaeJae.
Mm.
So there was still love there. I know that. But he does not engage with me, does not talk to me, even when the children were ill. Well, they're big enough to call me. They can let me know what's going on. You don't have to call me and tell me anything. So he was steady trying to keep a wedge between us. And I don't think it was because of him, because I felt like even after all we've been through, we
Yeah.
still were friends first
Mm.
and that we could be cordial because we still share a bond, which are these two children that we brought into existence. But I believe, due to the nature of how they became a couple, there's insecurities there. And she let it be known that she didn't want him to communicate with
Mm.
me. So she did a lot of those types of things that I could tell in his behavior and even in his speak, it wasn't him.
So, with that being said, Ray J, there are going to be people listening who may be experiencing divorce right now, perhaps even having feelings of second guessing their worth and their value. What do you say to someone, specifically since your clientele and your audience is catered and geared more toward women? What do you say to the woman who feels absolutely defeated, hopeless? What are some loving words that you would say to her to get her to fight to see another day and to really uplift and encourage her spirits?
I say create new rules for yourself.
Mm.
Me first. That's a concept. Me first. Take yourself out. Get comfortable with being with you.
Hmm.
Figure out who you are because you've been someone for someone else for so long, you lost yourself in the process. So, me first. The next thing, do something special for you. I mean, sometimes just being able to go into the bathroom and not be bothered with kids coming in on you and banging on the door is is a gift. Enjoy the ability to maybe make a bath for yourself, and the same thing that you would do to impress him,
Yeah.
do it now for you. because you are so worth it and worthy and such a treasure. But you have to believe that. No one else can believe it for you. So start rethinking and resetting your mindset. And it's going to take a minute. There is no magic potion. I wish I could take and snap my fingers and make it feel all better. But don't deny how you feel. Work in those feelings, come out on the other side so that you can let it go. Otherwise, it will keep you hostage and maintain control over your life.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Power Transformation Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, and write a review. It helps us inspire even more listeners. And don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone who could use a little power in their transformation. Until next time, keep bouncing back, keep rising, and be good to yourself and to others.